What's up, y'all? This is Juggernaut44 coming back at you with another vid. This is actually a response to Edward2926, The Opinion Spot, and Deadpoolzilla, and Vision of Comics. This is a response to vids that they did about comic book series that they would like to see. Ongoing, I suppose. The first one I would like to see is a Gambit and Nightcrawler book, um, with the leading roles switching depending on the story of who would be the supporting and who would be lead. I would mostly say I want it to be a Gambit book, though. Um, I would say that the book should be dark, gritty, grimy, but with a touch of elegance, just like the character Gambit and even Nightcrawler. It should have a touch of paranormal to it, with stories that they're dealing with, and also a touch of religion given Nightcrawler. I know Nightcrawler's dead for some dumb shock selling reason, but I believe that they should bring him back as soon as possible. Um, the book should be eerie. It should deal with mysteries and myths in the city, in various cities around America. Um, mhm. Gambit should be depicted as being the avenger of the indigent and underprivileged, and he should battle sci-fi creatures, the supernatural, and supervillains. The next book I would like to see is Phantomex. Um, as far as Phantomex, that ongoing series, I desire to see is just do James Bond. Just do a ripoff of James Bond, but starring Phantomex. And instead of, you know how James Bond was funded by not M13, or he was funded by the British Secret Service. And instead of that, have Phantomex be funded by just rich and wealthy, mysterious people who are also kind of weird and abnormal themselves. That's how he would get his money, and that's what he would get paid for, to solve some of their problems and their tasks, whether it be exploring adventures or assassinations or fighting somebody. It doesn't matter. Also have that series touch upon the paranormal, uh, certain phenomenons and spectacles around the earth. Um, have him be sort of a globetrotter in his adventures. Have a funny theme throughout the series. Be how Phanomex believes the world to be and how he describes it. But let's also explore how much Phanomex is very abnormal himself. And let's explore his strangeness and his awkwardness. And let it be revealed that he's not as so different from the rest of the world being kind of weird. Okay, the next book that I would like to see as an ongoing title is Magneto. Um, I would explore the parallels of Magneto and Malcolm X, but I would not outright say that they are so much alike, or be too preachy in that depiction between them. But I would be subversive in writing about what they have in common. Um, what else? I would make the Magneto book a book about Magneto regaining and rebuilding the influence that he's lost over some of the mutant population. I know he probably kind of made mutants look bad from the last story that Grant Morrison did with Magneto taking over New York City and whatnot. And I would major for the majority make the Magneto book about him regaining influence from the mutant population and taking some influence from Cyclops' X-Men and Xavier. Because right now, I think the best thing that Matt Fraction has done with the X universe, I don't think he's done a lot. I think he's a bad writer when it comes to the X-Men. But I think the best thing that he's done is put them in San Francisco and put Magneto there, Xavier there, and Cyclops there. So now as the mutants live there, it's like, okay, who do we follow? Do we follow Xavier's dream? Or do we go to a more aggressive Magneto's vision? Or do we follow the X-Men, Cyclops' X-Men, him being the team leader? And I would basically make that what that book is about, Magneto's influence over mutant population. But as far as a course of action, I would make it like Tomb of Dracula, where we're following a villain, but the villain is fighting bigger emerging evil than him, because it's a threat to it's a threat to him and his vision on how he wants to rule. I would kind of make it like Magneto Rex, which was a short Magneto series in the 90s that I grew up watching. Grew up reading. Sorry. The next book that I would like to see is a Storm book. And I know that book will really be hard to write because Storm is just so powerful. It would be really challenging to write her. But I would try my best if I was a writer or for any writer who might attempt to write her. I mean, because when you really think about it, Storm could be a challenge fighting the JLA. You know, Storm could be a challenge fighting the Authority. Thank goodness she's a good guy. I know a lot of heroes might, think. But Storm is very confined to write because she's so powerful and because a lot of the fights that she's in conflict with are inside. So like the as much as she can use her power, she can probably just do a lightning bolt, which is very effective, but it's nothing like starting a hurricane and sending it to your opponent. So if I was writing her, I would have her always be outside fighting villains and dealing with conflicts in that nature where she can really unleash. I don't think Storm has ever really unleashed her powers. I don't think I've ever really seen that to her full potential. There was one Ultimate X-Men story where I saw that she concentrated real hard and she made a lightning bolt strike a flying vessel like hundreds or thousands of miles away from where she was at. And that's very powerful. I would write her and where she's constantly unleashing her power. I know it will be challenging, but you gotta try. Okay, moving past the X universe, more to regular Marvel heroes. I would like to see a U.S. agent book. And the way I would write that book is I would just basically do Ultimate Captain America. And I know that Jason Aaron's doing something similar to that at the moment in the Ultimate Universe. But I would write U.S. Agent as Ultimate Captain America for the 616 universe, which is the main Marvel universe. I would also write him like the comedian from Watchmen, but without him being a rapist and him being less of a jerk than the comedian. Um, and I will have him be a domestic United States hero. I would have him be very, he would be very adverse from fighting out of the country, fighting evil out of the country. And I would let his political afflictions or political sightings be known. I would interpret him as a very much of a big Sarah Palin fan and a big right winger. I think that would be an interesting book to see. All right, another book that I would like to see is a Quicksilver ongoing series. And the way I would write that series is basically let Quicksilver be the Marvel version of the Flash. That's how I would write that ongoing series. I would have it be just like a Flash book, but without the Flash's hokiness and corniness that we find in the DC universe. This would be Quicksilver battling Marvel villains the way that the Flash would. I know that the Flash is a bit faster than Quicksilver, but Quicksilver is still a threat, a fast threat in himself. And that's how I would write a Quicksilver ongoing, and that's a good book that I would like to see. Okay, the next book I would like to see as an ongoing title is a Wonder Man, Paladin, and Gorilla Man ongoing series, ongoing anthology book. I like anthology books when they have a lot of pages and it's a good bang for your buck. I will have the page count on each character be 8 to 10 pages, and I will have Wonder Man's stories dealing with his dual life as a superhero and as a struggling actor. I know he's a supervillain right now. I would change all that. As far as Paladin goes, I would have that be a book about a self-centered, self-absorbed, snob assassin who's just the best in the world. I would have Paladin be like a Deadpool book, but without, of course, without Paladin having such a healing factor, without the humor, and without the sloppiness that Deadpool does in his job, because Paladin is more professional than Deadpool, He's not really in it for the massacre. He's in it to get in and get the job done and leave. And he's one of the best at doing that. Finally, the Gorilla Man stories would just basically be bizarre adventures that Gorilla Man has, and him having to deal with super science villains. I know he's not really a a sci-fi kind of comic book hero character. He's more of a adventure type hero, but I will have him deal with a lot of super science stories, and that's as far as that goes. Okay, one of the last videos that I would like to see, one of the last books that I want to talk about as being an ongoing title is a Thunderstrike Valkyrie book. They will share the title, and this book would be more of a X-Files meets Men in Black with a touch of Fables to it. It would be a book about gods and mythical creatures trying to adjust to Earth life. And Thunderstrike and Valkyrie would be the ones who police them and make sure that they're adjusting correctly and they're not breaking any laws or hurting any people. I love the character of Thunderstrike because I always view Thunderstrike as being a modern Thor. He looked like Thor, but he looked like what Thor would be if he was more realistic. And I would have Valkyrie be like his Scully to him being Mulder, and policing these mythical creatures who probably are bored with their mythical lives, are just trying something new, or whatnot. Maybe they're on parole or something, or they're sentenced to be live on the earth without powers, and Thunderstrike and Valkyrie will police that.